we are back with the second ever episode of the DayZRP Podcast. I'm your main host, Shilo, not RP Shilo anymore, since I'm now staff. Today I have a new co-host, since Galaxy and Mason decided to ditch me after they held me up and ran off with all my loot. But jokes aside, we have TheBishop as the co-host
Hi,
for today.
you all know me as Gary Golden Gloves, or my famous character, D-Squad Plicked Capturee number 23. It's really sweet to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here, Bishop, because, the two ditched me. And anyways, we have a wonderful, amazing special guest today, the one and only Jackfish.
Hello there, it's Jackfish, former lore master, now event master. Nothing more to say, I think. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. We love you.
Love you
We
too,
love
bro.
you and Cal.
Oh,
and Cal.
Nah, don't talk
And
to
Cal
Cal
this time.
about that.
Okay.
Can't forget him this time. Very,
Alright.
very first thing.
Yeah, very first thing this time. You're welcome, Cal. So, Jackfish, why did you join the lore team to begin with?
Well, first I was wannabe staff media team. I got given the opportunity to join staff since I got permed a couple years back. So, and after being a media team, I was like, well, I don't know what the server was kind of dead at the time. And as a media team, I couldn't really do anything to save that, or at least to try and get some population back. So, I thought as a lore master, I get tools, I get, the power to actually change things lore-wise and change things in game. So why don't I apply? And luckily, I got accepted.
Hey, there you go. Lately, whenever you do these lore events, and which have been happening on a daily basis, the server population has been going tremendously up. Last time, our highest was what, 50, 52, I believe?
Yeah,
During one of our
53,
events,
yeah.
it was fantastic.
53. Yeah, which is a really amazing thing lately because, beginning of this lore, people played for like quite a bit. You had a server queue and everything, and then it just dipped really quickly, and it was starting to get a little repetitive just playing with the same people every day.
Yeah, that is true. I think one of the reasons of that is because DayZRP didn't really have much to offer anymore other than the map. We had no events in game, we had no custom mods or anything else, and people just started to get bored of it. And I think thanks to the events that have been done by myself and all the volunteers, because they're just as important as the people who set it up, since I cannot do the big events without them. I think that has been helping and gaining interest of players again to play. And with Hoffer now in charge, we might see some interesting things soon.
Sounds fantastic.
Right. And
Now,
so go ahead, Bishop.
no,
Go
you're
ahead.
right. When the map first came out, everybody was excited. It was a brand new thing, and we did have a server queue. I forgot about that completely. It's felt like a lifetime ago. But since you became lore master, they've changed the titles up, haven't they? You're no longer a lore master, you're an event master. Could you explain the difference about that for most of
Yes.
the people?
Well, there's not that much of a difference. The first time when I heard it, I was going to be an event master. I thought it was a demotion. I'm not going to lie. I was like, well, this is how I get thanked for the work I've done. But after talking to Hoffer about it, it's basically, I'm basically a lore master who doesn't have to write big lore essays, basically. So what I do, I mostly, communicate with the community. I play in game, and the lore master, the wonderful Niv, she has been writing a shit ton behind the scenes. She's been working on a lot of things, and things like the virus, the injection of the virus, and the way the power is created is all thanks to Niv. She basically comes up with an idea. We brainstorm about it together. I give some pinpoints, and I give some small feedback, and then she writes a whole lore around it. Myself, I'm not a native English speaker, so writing is not really my thing. And she is, so she can write wonderful things, and then she comes to me, shows me those things, and I can do things with those things to let people enjoy events in game. So that's basically what an event master does. A lot of things.
A lot of things.
Yes.
It's been a lot of fun working with the event master, especially you, and Cal, and specifically you guys two coming together and helping spawn equipment and come up with these ideas. How do you come up with these mini event ideas? Like, I think we've made up maybe 5 or 6 different groups just out of the blue.
Yeah. I think Cal deserves a big shout out, since he and the Plessa sometimes, but it's mostly Cal who has been helping me almost with every event from staff, and then I mean staff with tools, of course, and I really appreciate that. But how do we come up with things? Well, basically, I came up with the contracts idea because a lot of RPGs have those contracts, and I thought of a name, and I'm not, I always have Jackfish, Jack, Jake, and I thought maybe Jimmy, so I came up with Jimmy's people, those cowboys, and then Kel and I talked. We're like, maybe we need like another faction. We came up with the nomads. And then we needed a horror faction, and we came up with the clowns. And that's basically how we come up with things. We just brainstorm, and like, maybe that's a cool idea, and we just play along with it.
You fill a void needed by the server, like the clowns. You needed a horror group.
Yeah, a horror aspect, an aspect that people have things to do, like the contracts. And then you can't please everyone, but you please most people. Some people hate horror shit, and they like contracts more. So that's why you switch between those events, so you can please most people in game.
Now I have a question. Where did your idea for the new mutated infected come from? Because that's been something that's a lot of people have been like really liking a lot lately.
Yeah, well, like I said, that is mostly Niv, who came up with maybe they should be mutated, but exactly how that is why we work together. She comes up with maybe it's cool to have mutated infected, and I come up with maybe the mutations could be like this. So at first I started to, I played infected myself. I gave myself some clothing, spawned on the roof, made some creepy noises, and jumped down and died. And I kept doing that to give people like the scare factor in the middle of the night. And then I talked to Niv. I'm like, I came up with these mutations. Maybe you can do something with it. And then we now have like the massive mutated infected. We have a lot of different kinds of mutated infected. So I think that's how we come up with things like that.
Gosh. Improvise, yeah. A lot of it is based on improv, right?
A lot of it is improv. Some things are like from other games, like what's that game called again? Left 4 Dead.
Yep.
Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead, Dying Light. A lot of those sounds that I made were based off those infected, because we never seen those kind of infected in game. We only see the normal ones, and that's why we try to create more than those. And maybe one day we will have custom infected in game too.
We don't have to have
that'd
players.
Be really nice. Isn't there there's also a mod which I don't know if I think they stopped working on it, but it was like an infected player model.
Yeah, it didn't get updated for 2 years, so that's why I didn't suggest it. However, Misha told me that not all mods need to be updated like that. So I don't know. I suggested a lot of different mods to make things interesting. And from what I've known, we will hear more about that soon. So we should just be patient
until
fingers. The great Hoffer announces it. Whatever gets added or not.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, was D Squad in the works, or was that just kind of a birth from these mutated infected ideas?
I think D Squad is something, and same with O Squad, it's something that I created myself. Because Niv created the idea that we had scientists working on, the people down under, basically. And then I came up with, scientists cannot get those people in by themselves. So maybe we should create a squad. And from that came D Squad. At first they were, really sneaky. But, a lot of lore events happened, and now they're basically at war. So yeah, that's how D Squad was created.
Yeah, same thing with O Squad. We needed some form of like opposite of the inside plict.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We had the Inside Plict, who are basically like a military police force who keep the peace inside of the walls, and then we have like the military that is outside the walls, basically, and that is how we created. You know, how I came up with those things.
Yeah. Another thing that I wanted to touch on was, how you use tools, and sometimes, Cal has to help you out, and there's really a lot of frustration between the two because of how little people have the tools to actually help out during the events.
Yeah, I'm like Cal has been just as important for the lore events as myself. That sounds cocky, but it is true. Since without Cal, things take way longer, and we cannot do the things we are doing right now. A lot of staff, no offense to them, no, they have different work, but there's not that many staff members with tools that want to help out during events or can help during events, which is kind of frustrating for me as an event master because you want to do things. I get the feeling I say things a lot, but there will be more things, so it's fine.
There'll be a lot more things to come.
So yes, he has been helping out a lot. It is frustrating that not many people with tools want to help during events. That is sad, but then again, I will not blame them. They probably have other things to do. But yeah, that's basically.
Would you say the lack of tool users is one of the hardest hurdles to tackle as an event master, or is there something else that's been eating away?
It is hard. However, we cannot just give everyone tools, right? There have been a couple applications for event master, but we also, we need to make sure that we can first that everyone in the lore team can work with the persons who or the people who apply, right? Secondly, staff Hoffer needs to trust that person to not abuse tools because that has happened in the past. Basically, with tools you can fuck a lot of things up if you want to.
Right. I completely understand.
So yes, it is. That is a thing that is frustrating. However, Cal and I, we have been doing just fine with the two of us. We could do things faster if there were more people, and it would be amazing to have more people with tools helping out. But 2 is like the minimum you need if you have more than 3 volunteers, basically. And what's also annoying, what Cal and I find annoying, and you noticed it probably as well, Bishop, is that if we have a lot of volunteers, a lot of people talk, right? And we want to gear people up. And there's always people who want, a lot of custom shit, and we spawn in uniforms. And I understand everyone wants to look cool, but sometimes that is frustrating if there's just the 2 of you. If people ask for different things other than the basic uniform. And, the spawn menu from the tools is not that easy to use. You need to search names. You don't have the pictures with it. So, it's... Yeah, that's something that is frustrating as well. A lot of talking during the setup, which I don't blame people for. I'm happy they're there, but that is something that makes it harder. Let me just put it that way. It makes it harder to
You're
gear
not
up
saying
fast.
my name because I'm one of those people, huh? Not at all, right?
No,
Yeah,
I'm not.
no,
I'm
I'm one
not
of those
saying.
people.
No, I'm not saying any names because I don't mind it. I understand it, right? I'm just saying it in general because I used to do the same when I was volunteering for Plict events. But now that I do the events, it's like, okay, it makes things harder. Like if there's 3 volunteers, it's fine. But if it's like 10, 11 volunteers, I just simply, it gets annoying because one person does it, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then, you lose track and it's getting...
I remember the black shamag you always asked for when you were playing Plict. And here we are now. It makes sense. Everyone wants their fancy gloves or fancy shoes to look different. And that's part of like a player identity thing that's always been ingrained in the DayZRP community. And it's hard when you play a lore character who isn't supposed to mean anything. It's hard to kind of shed that self-identity or self-importance idea. I have the same problem. I want the fancy glasses. I want the fancy shoes because it's just I need the golden gloves. That's different.
Yeah, that is different indeed. No, it's just, again, I don't blame the people for it. I'm very happy they want to be a volunteer, and, it's a small things for us to do, But I think sometimes people need to realize if there's a lot of people we need to gear up, that they're just simply they just need to get back in line and not get
Hmm.
that shit first.
So would you say timing is your biggest hurdle then? Setting up events on time and getting them out for the people, or let that would be your
Yeah,
biggest problem?
yeah, I think so. And getting volunteers is kind of hard as well. The last couple times it's been growing, but mainly when we just started, and sometimes even now, you just cannot. I cleared the Discord
Hmm.
out, and there's still a lot of volunteers in there who basically never join the events, and
Yeah.
that is frustrating as well to see so many people in there, and then I can only get 6 or 5 people, and I'm like, come on, and it's not bad if it happens one time, but if you see the same people not joining every time, that's you start to think, why are you in
That
here, right?
that's
Yeah.
a pretty good segue because a lot of people, especially us in the North Americas, are having a hard time, especially me, for joining Plict events, for example. Um, do you think
Yeah,
some people just don't want to join and they're in the Discord just to know when events are happening, or they may have a time zone complication?
I think both. I think we need an American event master. I really think so because my time is different. I try to do it like 9 in the evening my time, which is pretty
Hmm.
late already, or 10 my time. But there's only so much I can do with time, and I think the only solution for that is have an American event master in there, so he can do events with the Americans. But I also think
Right.
there are people in there who are just in there to, keep track what's happening and not help. But I clean the Discord out every now and then and kick the people who never join.
That's
So
good.
Yeah. Usually with the lore events, like I said, like Bishop mentioned, since I'm NA as well, there's been times whenever lore events, like there's small random events going on way after the main event has happened. Like for instance, a couple nights ago, I was literally about to go to sleep. It was 12 o'clock, and there was like a small D squad attack up on the highway, and I was like, that doesn't usually happen because all the events have like ended and none of it is really going on. So I really appreciated that to whoever did it, even though it could have been way past their time. So
yeah, that happens sometimes. So when I had holidays, sometimes I think I had like 5 or 6 days in a row where I went to bed like 4 or 5 in the morning just to do events for the Americans, and that is something I can do when I'm off the next day, but not something I can do now if I have a lot of work coming up. So you know,
I mean, just
yeah,
yesterday our server pop was about
so like
30, and we didn't really have events. And I can't stress it enough. It's not in no small part due to you and the other event team because we all remember a group of maybe 12 was our maximum. That was our peak player base for a while.
yeah,
And when we start doing these events, I don't know, I think people have a reason to come in. They have things to talk about in game
yeah,
instead of just their regular buddy who they just talk to every day anyways.
yeah. No, that is true, and I also got a lot of messages and staff feedback from people. Like I got this message the other day from someone who's like, it's something small, but like I had a shitty day at work, and I like to role play, and these events really help my mood come back to life again, and that is like messages that then why you do those events, because a lot of people now have a reason to go back in game because there's so many storylines going on, so it's actually worth getting back in game, and this is for the people who are still listening and who are not playing right now. I'd say try it out because a lot of things changed, and I suggest you get in game and try to enjoy it again, or at least see if you still enjoy it.
yeah, that goes to anybody. I mean, even if you don't have time, like even if you don't play in general, um, there's still tons of crap going on. Like it's so much fun lately that originally, like I said in the first episode, is that I had a time where I was getting a absolute burnout from Nihheim already, and then all of a sudden, boom, events start happening on a daily basis, and like I just kick it into gear again, and it's something that a lot of people should experience because you don't get many experiences like this in any community except for maybe DayZRP and some other RP communities outside of the game. But like It's something you have to
DayZRP
try.
has always been one of the most popular DayZ roleplay communities. It sounds so nerdy when I say it out loud, but it's completely true. And not as of recent, but in most people's recent memory, it's been dead. And it's not the case anymore. I love this community. I always try to come back whenever I can. And it's really hard to join something when there's no one around and there's nothing to do. But now we have things to do, and like, you got the ball rolling, right? You pushed it down that hill, and now there are people that are coming back. More people are starting storylines. Storylines are continuing. Groups are fighting and they're making alliances. It's a whole world now that's still there, other than just the map. And I think you guys are completely right. Just come back in and try it. For anybody who hasn't taken the time to boot up their old character and get in game, just try it out. I mean, might be some fun.
Yeah, like you said, just the massive event the other day. There were like 53 people on the server, and 44 of those people were playing in the event. And that was probably the biggest event I've seen, for sure on Nieheim, but probably one of the biggest events ever done on DayZRP. And it was just like a movie. People were running over the ice, explosions left and right, volunteers shooting down at the people. It was just a massive, massive thing happening. And that is something that makes us as volunteers and and event masters just very happy to see groups who are normally fighting, like the VK with, I don't know what the group is called, but Lucas people. They were like fighting side by side against the D squad, and that is so nice to see that people set aside their IC differences and just fight against their the bigger enemy. So that's amazing.
Especially with the one where D Squad attacked the city and the bombings, and then getting stuck in the sewer. Like, I legit felt like I was in the middle of a movie or
Still
a TV
very
show.
sad I missed that event.
Yeah.
And then when Cal walked up the ladder, he's like, "It's fine," and then just gets blown up to pieces.
Yeah.
So I think we might have already answered this question, but what do you think your favorite event has been so far? Is that it with the big team battles?
Yeah. It's like every time I said it in the Discord as well. Like, I think this was the best event we did so far. But every event that happened after, I kept repeating it because we keep stepping up our event game, just to say it like that. It's like, yeah, that's basically my favorite event. They started at the ice, then they had to move to a different location, the power plant, where they had to fight another wave of D squad. Then they had to move to the final destination, where they captured a high-ranking lieutenant. And those events, many people might think like, we have 100% chance to get that lieutenant, but that is not the truth, because if you interrogate him the wrong way or you shoot him too quick, you're basically not gonna get the information. You basically, you can't continue the event storyline, and you just need to try another time. So I think people did great at that event. Everyone's roleplay was top notch. Yeah, that's basically my favorite event so far.
That's gonna bring me to one of the topics that I have is when lore events don't go as planned as you have visioned it, and it just feels really cruddy. Just how would you suggest to handle that to people who volunteer as well as going on into the future?
Well, the volunteers, they can't really, a lot of times if things don't go as planned, the volunteers ask the event master or lore master what to do. But what I would suggest to people who will lead the events in the future is just to see what else you can do. You will make mistakes. I made a mistake once with the scrap rats. The VK were all stuck in a bunker. And things didn't go as planned, and it ended up in a firefight that many people thought was my fault, and I took the blame for it. And by those mistakes you learn. Mistakes happen and you learn from them, and now events have been going pretty good the last couple of days. And yes, I accidentally killed some people with an explosion. That happens as well. But then, people don't have to worry because they can be TP'd back. So, you learn and you improvise.
Heading back to that mentality of people think it's a guarantee. right? For example, when they capture the lieutenant, it's a guaranteed information. Um, that's an idea that a lot of the player base might have. What type of mindset do you think we should be going forward with these events for players? What type of ideas should they be coming into these events with?
Just take it, as realistic as possible for your character. You know, I have the difficulties for events, so don't rush over open fields when you get shot at, because the volunteers will try to kill you if you do. Try to take things the real way. Try to think through your actions. If you interrogate an officer, maybe there's some things you need to do or say to get the information out of it. Because if you just shoot him straight away and kill him, you're not gonna get the info. Simple as that, and then you've basically failed the objective of the event, and it's basically mission failed. We get him next time,
Jackfish, you just made me remind something I was going to talk about. There's rumors of a difficulty that you're coming out with where people can potentially get PK'd.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's basically something that Niv and I came up. Basically, Niv started it. She said, like, maybe we should think of events where people have the massive risk of losing a character. And yes, that is something we will introduce. I posted a status update of it of it the other day, and I will make a thread about it soon. But yes, there will be an event where some parts of it will get your character PK'd if you do it. Like if you rush into a bunker and the bunker's exploding and you don't get out soon enough, it could mean the end of your character. We will PM the people, and we will strongly advise them to PK. But at the end of the day, you can't force people to PK, but we can strongly advise them and tell them, well, this event was this difficulty. It was on the announcement, so you should have known. It's your choice still, but still.
It's like, hey, your character just ran into an exploding bunker. You're most likely not going to survive that, so we kind of suggest that you PK. You don't have to, but it's strongly implied.
You better roleplay that you've been blown the hell up, though, or I swear. Or I swear.
Exactly. Exactly, and we have a lot of people flying around in free cam, and maybe if we do an event like that, we will type something out like, if you enter this area, you may take the risk of getting PK'd, and if people still want to move in, who we told them, the people we told it to, and they still move in, then they get PK'd, because then they know what the consequence is. And if you still decide to move in and you get killed and you don't want to PK, then it's just bad RP in my eyes.
They
then
accepted
you
the
have
risk.
done it. But that's just me.
Makes sense. You
Yeah,
want to put your character's head under a gun. I mean, you might get shot, and if you do get shot, then good luck surviving.
Yeah.
That's funny coming from me, huh, Jackfish? Yeah, there you go.
No comment.
Non-comply, yeah. So something I don't have written down on the podcast planning, because it just, things are starting to come to me as we continue going on, but Kirko is, updating the map eventually. With these new locations, if he adds them or when they add them, do you think there's gonna be more locations that are gonna be introduced into the lore events that we haven't used yet?
I hope so. I've talked to Kirk. I've came up with some suggestions. But some things are just, he's alone. He's a busy man. So it's hard to come up with new areas and new things, because he's the only one we currently have to do the things, to create the map. It would be ideal, like we had with Watchmen on Chernarus, if the map would change after events, like after the explosions, that the whole city would be burning and smoking, But it's simply not possible right now. Misha was supposed to return. I'm not going to go into detail because, I don't think I'm allowed to, but there's been some problems with that as well, so he can't return for now. A lot of setbacks, even though Hoffer has been in charge and have been doing a lot of good shit. Big props to the big man himself. But we still have some setbacks, which is a shame, because, well, we had a lot of good plans, but some things came through and it's not possible for now. So hopefully the map will get bigger soon. We will have a map update I think he said it on general. There will be a map update, mostly bug fixes. But we just have to wait for Roland to come home, I think, and just add that. You know, he's the only one who's capable of doing that.
When does Roland come back again? Is that on
tomorrow.
the 16th? Tomorrow?
So,
Hey.
I'm still on the subject of maps. If you had your way, right? If let's say you had perfect knowledge of these editing tools and you could open up the map, what would be some of the things that you change do through the lore events? Like something if you had the power, what event would you do that would change the map?
Well, first off, I would make the map little bigger. Because I love the map and Kirko did a big fucking job. However, it's the server pop is getting up again, and it's simply getting too small. We need bigger areas. And personally, I would add darker themed areas. I would add an underground with the lab that basically the whole lore event is going on, like where people get injected. I would add that lab somewhere. More of a tunnel system because we have the sewers. But there's a big part of sewers that has not been opened up yet because it's simply not done. And that is like, those sewers are massive. I hope those will be opened up, even though if they're not finished yet, because they look pretty good. And just like I said, big explosions. I would make the map burning for a couple days, basically, like smoke going everywhere, buildings who collapse, that collapse. I would do it that way probably, but.
I've seen those tunnels. They're awesome.
Yeah.
I personally think they're ready to be opened up, but again, I'm not a map dev. I don't know what little details I can't see. But you're right.
Yeah.
We have a fantastic map, and the city is awesome. If anybody here has played other maps, such as Esseke or Deer's Isle, I'm pretty sure we had Deer's Isle on DayZRP for a little bit. There's awesome details like that are Nihheim blow out of the water. The city is super detailed and fantastic, but I think a lot of people have the same issue that I do, is that once you get out of the city, there's really not much else to see.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's why a lot of people have come up with threads bring back Chernarus, which I partly understand why people say it, right? Because Nihheim is a very small map. And indeed, outside the city, there is some small cities here and there, which is great. However, other than that, I don't think there's much to do. And there's not, map making is very hard. People need to understand that the tools that you use for map creating they're outdated. They're very bad. So Kirk, did what he could with the time that he had. But it simply has to. We need to add more parts to the map. It needs to be bigger. We need to add more original areas, which we need assets for, custom assets, and Kirk cannot do that, or at least to some extent. So we need more devs, and to get more devs, you need to put money in devs, and well, that is something that I have no control over.
Yeah. Jackfish, were you on whenever? I'm sure you were on whenever Namalsk was out.
Yeah, not that much, but yeah, sometimes.
But there was a lab area that whenever you went down into it, it just like blacked everything out, and is a really good mechanic in that, as well as a tunnel system with that same mechanic. Whenever you walked in deep enough, everything would just become dark and pitch black. That would be really cool if it could be implemented into the sewer system, tunnel systems, and whatnot.
Yeah, from what I understand, real tunnels are not possible. Like real dark tunnels, because the engine just doesn't support it. If you want to do like custom underground shit, you have to make like a full custom map, like no ground. You have to make everything from scratch, even more from scratch than Kirk did. He told me, I asked him for more caves and shit, and he said it's simply not possible. You can create things under the map because a lot of the buildings you see are basically floating. The roads are floating, and there's a huge open area under there. So he could make things there, but other than that, no, I don't think it's possible for now.
From what I understand within the Malsk map, it's special scripting. If people who don't know, the man who made the Malsk map, Sumrak, is one of like the lead developers of DayZ. He made it out in his own time, so he knows the engine in and out. So something like that might be a little bit out of reach for our devs, which is a real shame. But no, it's I think the underground tunnels that we have right now, where we did our clown events, we can manage of what we have, and I think they're still really fun for the little events that we do.
Yeah, they do the job. It's something else, like something we didn't see in Chernarus. That's why it makes it interesting. And that's why, I don't know what the reasoning is, but in my opinion we should open up the other tunnels as well. Because they're way bigger. And even though it's not perfect, it's still something new that people can play with. Because I feel like it's been such a long time since Nihheim got updated. And Kirk can't do anything about that. I just want to put that out there. It's not Kirk's fault at all. But you know, we need to be realistic as well. People want new stuff. And that has to happen with Nihheim, because outside of the city, it's not like Chernarus where you have a lot of cities, big hills, big forest. It's something else, and that doesn't have to mean it's bad, but you know, it needs this spark outside the walls, I think.
Right, I agree, because I feel like inside the walls in the city is like pretty much the main focus of everything.
Yeah.
And it takes away from the other parts.
I think that's why these little events have been getting so much focus and have been so popular, because while we don't have a physical item that somebody can touch that's a new thing, you're that new thing. These events are that new thing, bringing people back for something cool and interesting to come and see. I would do these events if I was on a fucking skyscraper in the middle of nowhere, if I was just on a rock out in a field. Like, the map doesn't matter when the events are cool.
To a certain extent that is true. However, we have a lot of stories in mind for events, so we can keep doing this for a while, but eventually we will need new content to make new events as well. So for the upcoming months, or at least like 2-3 months, I think we're set event wise. But after that, we do need new content, at least new map parts, to make things more interesting again, in my opinion.
So the future lore, like, it's already written out like 2 months in advance, or is like everything being planned 2 months?
A lot of things are in the works. Things I unfortunately cannot say, because I asked Niv if I could give some teasers.
You can't tease us like that.
But it's not fleshed. It's not fleshed out enough to. Let me just say it this way: there is some interesting things in the works, and Niv is, she's basically writing it all by herself. So big props again to her. There are some things coming, and I think, those things are interesting. And I mean, like the upcoming 2 months, it's not that, like the lore's written already for it, but like I personally have some event ideas that can, have that covered.
I just feel like I talked with a game developer.
Yeah, it seems like a shame. If you're excited about these little events, okay, how about this? We'll make a little compromise here. I'll make a deal with you. Instead of giving us details on storylines and events and lore, give us, without names, without, topics, explain to us these events that you're excited for. What can the player base expect to be seeing in the coming months?
Well, the let me see. What can I say? This is hard because I don't want to slip my tongue.
Loose lips.
Let me just do. It's basically bigger D squad events with new things to do,
sweet.
new things that will happen. New mutants. Yeah. And something else, but I cannot say that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
I'm like working for you.
Yeah, there you go. I'm gonna get a. Go ahead.
Oh. So they're implementing.
Yes.
Pay to win now.
Exactly.
You cannot equip
exactly.
this D Squad mask. Pay the $19.99 DLC D Squad.
Yeah.
Loot boxes.
Oh man, it's like Arma 3. Soon TM.
Soon. I'm just kidding.
No, that's very exciting. So we're gonna expect to see a lot more work coming out of D Squad and that particular storyline with the mini events that we're doing, like such as Jimmy and the Rider Gang, and like the Nomads and all that other, like the clowns coming in to kind of fill the voids while we're waiting for the larger events.
Yeah. Like I said, I will have less time to do daily events, so I will probably lead the main lore events once a week at least. But yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And then today, the 15th of August, Cal is actually
Ooh,
doing his own mini
Yes.
event.
Yes.
Is that Cal alone?
Yeah, he's got.
I'm so proud of my boy. Yeah.
Oh, I don't.
That's
Is it? Dang.
That brings me
I
to a
think
question
so.
that I forgot to ask. This big event that we had with the D Squad running over the ice, your favorite event, was that only you and Cal with tools?
Yes.
Do you remember about how many volunteers you had under your belt during that event?
We had like, I think we had 8 or 9, and then Kel and I. So we had like 11,
Mhm.
12 people
And
in total.
go ahead.
And go ahead.
I
No,
wonder
go ahead.
if the community even realized that we only had 8 people for an event like that, because it was
I
such a
don't think they did.
grandiose thing that you were able to move people around, get them re-geared quickly. I came in during the tail end of that event when we were in the power plant, and when I was taken down, I was moved out and I was re-equipped so quickly to get thrown back into the works as like a reinforcement squad. It was fantastic, and you guys really pulled through. I think you guys grew a lot with your tool usage because you were banging that stuff out because we were all just shut the hell up and let you work, and it was fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Big props to Kel, because in those situations, the massive lore events, it's mostly me who spawns in, because people need to know the explosions. I need to spawn them in. Like, I need to activate them. So the explosions is me. And Kel does a lot of the regearing for people, so I can continue working lore-wise, right? So big props to, yeah, my friend Kel.
For those who
So
don't
yeah,
know, I'm not entirely
Yeah.
sure about exactly how tools work, but I do know this basics. If we need to get teleported, you can't just pick a player, pick a spot, and move them to that spot. You have to move yourself through free cam, get to these locations, and
yeah,
then move the player to your position. So it's not
yeah,
like if anyone's played Arma 3 Zeus, you can't just move people back and forth like pawns on a chessboard.
Oh yeah.
It's basically you physically driving us in like your invisible jet to where we need to go. It's you guys have been doing
yeah,
fantastic work with these little events, and I'm surprised the amount of power you guys can pull out, like pump out of these tools.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. It's just getting, you need to get used to it. First, it was very complicated in my opinion. I spawned in hordes of infected by accident because I had the wrong keybind. I fucking
Dang.
fucked people over sometimes, but now you basically have to click target to me, and then the people who you clicked on, or the person you clicked on, because one at a time is possible, TPs to you. But we have to free cam around, go back to the bunker, spawn ourselves in the bunker, TP you to the bunker, spawn in your gear, fly back to the action. And we don't have name tags in the tools as well. It's something that I really miss in there. I know it's possible,
Oh right.
but it's we're not allowed to use that. So yeah, that would make things easier because we have a map, and that map doesn't update automatically. So we basically have to close the map, fly to a location, open the map, see where we are, fly a bit. It's very hard to find people
I,
sometimes. I wish that would be
I
easier.
remember
But
that being
yeah,
one of the
it
problems,
is what it is.
especially during the early days of the mini events. We would find that there was somebody out in the middle of nowhere and go do like a clown event with them. And we would spend a good 5-10 minutes like, where the hell did they go? Where are they? And we'd search
Yeah,
around for them. An old
yeah,
an old
that is.
story of I think it was the first time I did one of the clown events. It might have been the first time any of us did the clown event. Um, we were in the town to the southeast, and it was a couple of people, maybe three, or maybe two or three, and you spawned in a couple of bears by accident, and I
Yeah,
think you almost killed one of them with these bears.
yeah. I had my keybinds wrong. you know.
All right. Well, I want to hit up two more points before we end this.
Yeah.
The first one was how do streamers like Twitch streamers who do DayZRP, like, do they what's the word?
Get more
Priority.
attention.
Yes, get more attention.
Well,
Yeah.
of course, if Red Sky is streaming, of course I will make sure that Red Sky gets in the action, right? Because
Yeah.
people are watching him, and people might get interested because they see the action. But it's not like they get special treatment. No, it's not. No, or at least not from me. Of course, they get their place in the event for sure, right? But they're not the main character in the event, basically. Not always, that is.
Right. And the last thing that I have is that apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard random people talking about how they were seeing like ghosts out in the forest.
No.
I don't know. I don't know if you were doing that or not, because people were like, "Yeah, there's like some guy with a
heard
beer
of this
head and
story,
everything."
yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck are these people talking about?
Oh, I'm gonna be honest. I did not hear about this, but that sounds interesting. So nice for whoever is doing that. Shout out to you.
If there's more ghosts in the forest, I'm just gonna say this: I would fucking
Yeah.
I'd love it even more.
Yeah, we might do some of those kind of events because first we wanted to keep things as realistic as possible. However, some scary, spooky shit is kind of interesting as well.
Mhm.
Not too much.
Keep it
but,
contained
you
so
know.
that it could be like, I don't believe you when someone comes up and tells a story, but it's
Yeah.
cool events that gets the community talking. Like this deer
Exactly.
skull ghosts in the woods stuff. I have no idea who's doing those, and that's sweet because it's a story that's been circulating around the community enough that it's become a legend in its own weird way.
Yeah.
It's cool that we can do
Yep.
stuff like that still.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really good. All right, well, I think that's gonna end the podcast here. Jackfish has to go do some things.
Yes,
He has to
sir.
Ditch us. Ditch us.
Too
Jesus,
tired,
guys.
Jackfish has to leave us. We've
But,
tuckered him out.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, he's tuckered himself out. All right, well, Jackfish, before you leave, anything you want to say before we end this?
Well, again, thank you for having me. And I'm happy that people are enjoying the events, and I hope more people will get in the server soon. So, we can create more and better things.
All right, well, I'll do it then. Thanks for tuning into the second episode, and there'll be more episodes to come. Thank you, guys.